Hey, this is Mo Lunsford at Union Grove Lumber Studios.
And this is the Shed Geek. We want to welcome you to today's episode. Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Shed Geek podcast here in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Excited to do this interview today. We've been talking about it for a little bit and getting to do this on our trip back from Colorado. So on the way home instead of on the way out, Brad, you just want to maybe introduce yourself, the name of your company, and a little bit about like what you guys do here.
Sure. My name is Brad Brown, and I work here. My wife helps me. She's not here today, but Cindy Brown, and so our company is Oakley Portable Buildings, and so we do the sheds, do the wood and the metal siding sheds. We also do decks. There's a lot of demand around here for mobile home decks and steps and things like that. We do patio covers and carports. Now we build them more the traditional flat roof, attached to the house type. And then we also are a dealer for Carolina and carports. And there's a pretty good demand for that around here. And so that's, for the most part, what we do. It's probably 60 to 70% sheds, and then we do, because we do quite a few decks and carports as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So sheds, you said both wood and metal,
and the metal siding,
and then decks. I saw the decks on the way in. So tell me, Oakley's been here in Stillwater for quite some time, right?
Yes. Over 50 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me how the business kind of got started. How did did you just grow up doing sheds? How are you second generation? What's kind of the story? How'd that come together?
Well, as you can tell, my last name's Brown, but it's called Oakley, and the Oakley came from Oakley Fence, which my dad owned, Oakley Fence Company. And a fella named Shelby Oakley came to Stillwater to go to Oklahoma State University. And his family, he was in the fence business in Tulsa. And so to work his way through school as a college student, he started a little fence company and called it Oakley Fence. And my dad had got acquainted with him and helped him with some work and was interested in what he was doing and liked it. My dad had owned a Dairy Queen and was running that. So he was already an entrepreneur and working and self-employed, but this was more appealing to him. And so when Shelby graduated and left, my dad bought the business from him and did both for a while, and then eventually sold the Dairy Queen, which I'm so glad, and went in and stayed with the fencing. And we grew up building fences and working, doing that. I remember doing that every summer and doing that on the weekends. But in 1990, my brother took over the fencing part, and my dad transitioned into sheds. And he would, I think he got the idea and things from going to the State Fair of Tulsa, and there would be a guy there, Ted Tucker, with a shed company that back then was called Better Built, and it was probably one of the original Better Built.
Better Built.
Yeah.
There's so many Better Built, Best Built,
Yes.
and all that now that they can get confusing in a CRM if you're not paying attention.
Sure.
I see them in my email folders, and I'm like, oh my goodness, between Yoder's and Better Built and Heritages and things like that, there's quite a few of them.
But he would buy sheds from Ted Tucker and haul them to Stillwater, and this is before. I mean, they're talking in the early 90s. There wasn't really anybody hauling sheds on trailers or anything with.
So this would have been the traditional handyman jacks and pipes that you were using to move everything, right?
Beds and just, and he eventually got a dump bed that he would do that, but a lot of times he would just take a flatbed over there and unload it at his lot with a forklift, but he did that for quite a while, but I was not as involved in the 90s. I was working, already married, and had a separate job working in a printing plant, and in 2000 that closed, and I'd worked there for about 12 years, and I decided to go back to college, and while I was working on my degree at college, I went to work for my dad building sheds. And I actually went up to, my dad had got my uncle involved in the business.
Okay.
He had worked, my uncle lived in Sand Springs in Tulsa, and he had a fence business there, which my dad had got him involved in. And he had moved to Wichita and closed that business and started doing sheds up in Wichita. You may have heard of them, all size sheds.
It does sound familiar.
Yeah.
That rings a bell somewhere.
Yes. So Carl Brown
Okay.
had all size sheds. He's retired now, and his son-in-law runs the business.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I've definitely heard that name.
Jordan Crane. And so anyway, they've been on the cover of the Shed Journal and things like that.
Oh, yeah. Probably where I saw them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a much bigger outfit than we have here.
Okay.
In Wichita.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just a million more people up there too, I think. So,
Yeah, no, I like Wichita.
Yeah.
We've been through there a little bit. Shout out to our buddy Phil Carsalawi, who's there with Newfound. He and all the business adventures they're into. We flew out there last year and got to do. There's a place up there in Wichita called Ginger and Pickle. I don't know if you've ever been, but it's or no chicken and
chicken
pickle.
and pickle.
I don't know where I got ginger from, but that's because that was a place in Paducah. So. Anyway, chicken and pickle. Yeah, you could have chicken tenders and play pickleball. And I thought that was just the weirdest thing, but it was actually fun. So, and I still owe you, Phil, because you beat me 3 games in a row. So,
wow.
Yeah, we gotta.
I gotta
But yeah.
try it.
Oh, it's fun. It's
Is
fun. It's a blast. If you play, you'll have a lot of fun. So, but you're a Stillwater native. You've been born here and grown up here, and now you're entrepreneur here, a business. And how does it compare in 2024 versus 1990 when you saw Dad getting into sheds? Like, what are some of the major things that you've seen change?
Well, I mean, the industry has grown where it caters. There's so many different accessories and things that just cater to sheds, which are turning into pretty much little homes or little doll houses type things. But there's still the basic, just give me a shed to put my mower in, and that's awesome. But I mean, I remember him trying to find hinges, trying to find, hasp or whatever for his doors, and just there wasn't hardly any. You're just trying to figure out how to make this thing, look nice, but not have two or three different kinds of hinges on it, or something like that. Make it all uniform and all consistent, and all, and it was, and then. This trying to find siding, trying to find there's just a lot of, I think there was a lot of trial and error, and it finally got to where you do things and you figure it out, and you grow off that and you grow off that, and just eventually get a really good system going. So.
Yeah. In order to, like, the uniform, I think is a good word to use. Especially if you're putting warranties on them, having to go back out and try to find things, but I've heard this said a couple different times by people even recently. They said, it's interesting for me to hear you say industry, the word industry, shed industry, because like we never knew we were in an industry. We just knew we were building sheds. That's all we really thought of it as we build sheds. It's just kind of a thing we do. But now it's become organized with all of these things that have come out, publications, trade shows, podcasts, you name it. Like there's like, who would have thought that you could do a podcast over the shed industry? Like Some people still doubt it, I think, and we're 4 years in. So, but it's a big industry, and there's a lot of people who have stories like you all over the country, and your dad, and they become second and third generation shed builders, and they were just getting into it with an entrepreneurial spirit, like you said. And as you've already alluded to today, you see how other industries affect ours. Fencing was kind of a familiar leap. It was like sheds was a distant cousin to that world. And I know that they're two totally different things, but it just made sense because, somewhere along the line, your dad went from building fence to building sheds. And now you've got decks out here because the mobile home business is big.
Right.
And you've got carports, because sometimes whenever somebody doesn't need a shed, maybe they need a carport. So it's interesting to watch it grow, and even where else it's going. There's guys doing pole barns.
Yeah, I don't think it's smart to have all your eggs in one basket. You got to diversify. And we're surrounded, our spot here in town, I think there's 3 trailer parks. Within a stone's throw. So as far as little sheds and decks, and we've had, we've built hundreds of decks for just right here in these trailer parks.
Get ready for a sales revolution. Introducing Making Sales Simple, a complete online training course that unleashes the power of sales mastery, anytime, anywhere, on any device. Designed to transform anyone into a shed-selling success, Making Sales Simple guides you through the entire sales cycle, from the moment a customer steps onto the lot all the way through the crucial art of closing the deal. But that's not all. Our course equips you to expertly handle follow-ups, how to advertise your lot on social media, and supercharge your sales like never before. Enroll your sales team in the game-changing Making Sales Simple training course and witness a remarkable boost in sales right on the lot. Do you have a large team of salespeople? Manage and monitor each one through the sleek admin panel. Track their progress, dive into quiz results, and ensure they're not just learning, but mastering their newfound sales skills in real-world scenarios. Join our happy customers and witness your shed lots transform into thriving hubs. Sign up your entire team today. Unlock big savings with the code SGSAVE, because your team's success deserves nothing less.
So that was kind of a no-brainer. I mean, people would come to us even before we were building them and ask us, "Can you do this?" And same with how we got into doing metal siding. We were doing just wood siding, and people would come and ask, "Can you do this metal siding?" And we're like, "We don't want to do that," but they kept asking us, and it's like, "Well, we'll try it." And
customers always drive
they do
the car, right? So like they're always driving unless you just really want to stay in one place and say, I'll lose that market share.
Right.
Sometimes you got to be open to customizable things.
And there's some things where we just kind of go, I don't need anything else in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
It's just, I got to,
What have people asked you for, like here, that's just off the top, like wild?
Well, we've built some chicken coops, but they're basically, the ones we've done have been glorified sheds, but they're really strange, custom, straight out of Pinterest type chicken coops and I've done a couple for people just because they're buying other things. Yeah. And so like, okay, but if somebody came in and just flopped down a weird picture of a chicken coop, I'd be like, I want you to get what you want, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Pinterest
I'll point you in the right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pinterest gives people all the ideas and opens up all the customization options, it seems like. So your dad started this in 90. You ended up coming to work for him when?
In 2000.
In 2000. So
as far as the sheds, yeah. So I was working. I was going to college on Tuesdays and Thursdays and building sheds on Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Okay.
And married, had 4 kids at home, and just going. I mean, never stopping. And I bought a truck and a trailer. Well, first I just had a pickup, and I was just and all my tools, and I was just working out of working out of the back of it and going out and building on site. I'd come in, load up go out. Here's the address, and go in the backyard and build it.
And
it was, but I didn't fully comprehend everything I was doing until I went up and worked for my uncle.
Okay.
Who had a shed business up there, and he had some guys, some builders that let me watch them and work with them a little bit and take notes. And believe it or not, I took a video camera and videoed watching, and so I could watch it and go back and go, oh yeah, I forgot about this. And I learned a lot, worked with one of his really good builders, and I think his name was Luke. And so that kind of springboarded me into it then. And then I felt confident enough in my previous fence building and carpentry skills to just jump right in. But I would hate to find that first shed wherever it's at.
That's a testimony to growth in your own personal trade experience, isn't it? It'd almost be interesting to go back and watch your true reaction to seeing that first shed and go, oh, what was I doing?
I'm afraid
what
I know where it is, but it's hidden in a really small town on a back alley. So
I imagine there's others that have that story and would get the same laugh. But obviously years of maturing in the industry and learning your trade, it's changed things now to where you build a good quality product. And you guys were really, would you say you were the first ones here in Stillwater to really be offering sheds?
Definitely. Yes. There was no one else in Stillwater, and there's no one in Stillwater still that builds their own sheds. We have some dealers in town, but not anyone that actually manufactures their own.
Yeah, and I know there's some good companies out here in Oklahoma, and it seems like you've got some healthy competition. Let me ask you: do you feel it's the $1 million question that everybody always likes to ask or be asked or have a thought on? Do you feel like the shed industry is saturated?
If it's not, it's real close.
Okay.
I know it's different in every part of the country. There's areas that are just, booming and growing, but, and then areas that aren't. So I don't know. I don't have my finger on that pulse, but, and it's kind of like, it's hard to be objective because it's kind of like when you buy a new car, everywhere you go, you see your car. Everybody's got the same car as you now.
Right.
And so I see sheds wherever I go. So you can kind of think it is that way. But there is still some growth. There's still some demand. We're definitely back, 2019 or earlier type trends. So, but I've seen a lot of companies come and go over the years. Mainly just the dealer lots that try here and doesn't really work, so they move on. So, and I think the town that I'm in is only about 50,000. So once you have a good name established, we have some very loyal customers, and people appreciate buying local, and so that plays a big part. Maybe an outsider trying to come in and do that. So it's not necessarily saturated, but it probably wouldn't take much more.
Yeah. It seems like I saw quite a few coming in from Oklahoma. So. And even some folks I think I've talked to a couple times, one or two times, but it really is interesting when you get a chance to travel and see the different. I mean, I couldn't tell you on this 2-week trip how many shed lots I've seen, and I'd love to stop at every one of them. I've stopped at a few and got a chance to chat, but you would need to be on the road 365 days a year. There's so many shed lots and manufacturing locations and support, for the industry through products and services and things like that. So it's always nice to get to know people's stories. So
we did that when we took a vacation back and went around New England last fall.
Oh yeah.
And just, basically almost turned that into a business trip.
Yeah.
And we just stopped at all the different, and some places that I actually follow on Instagram, and want to see, and had some good conversations, enjoyed looking at, took a lot of pictures, and so yeah, I get it. It's pretty neat. That area might be saturated. I don't know.
Yeah, they've got quite a few shed manufacturers and dealers up in that area for sure. But I'll tell you, they make some really nice quality products and some neat stuff.
Definitely. But I'm still shocked that some of the places I stopped at, they're dealers. I mean, and I don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying they're not building.
They're not building. Yeah, they'll. Yeah, it's a little different. We may not be accurate on this, but I like to say a lot of times it seems like they sort of operate under a wholesale model where the builders don't want to be in the retail market. They just want to build sheds. They just soon sell them to an entrepreneur who wants to come in and purchase them, to retail themselves. So they'll put them out wholesale and there's a mixture, it seems like, across the country. It's kind of salt and peppered in from what I feel like I've experienced anyway, is for the most part in the Midwest seems to be a lot of consignment dealers. Like, the model is, open up a lot and then try to get 10, 12, 20, 70, 200, 400 dealers under them, however that ends up growing or working or whatever. Whereas in the Northeast, it seems like exactly like you said, they'll purchase and then they'll be a retail shop. And maybe they'll have some other stuff. Maybe it's not just carports or they'll do furniture, gazebos, pergolas. Some people have mulch, U-Haul trucks, a little bit of everything. I mean, you name it. I've seen quite a bit. Like the Amish markets are always interesting. That'll have like I call them Amish markets. I don't know what else to call them, but like the little food stores and supply stores, and then they'll also have sheds out there and flowers and
we have one just down the street.
Do you? Okay, yeah.
They don't have sheds, but they do they have greenhouses.
Okay, yeah,
and some chicken coops.
Yeah,
and which I send a lot of people down there when they're looking for chicken coops. I'm like, you just got to go a little bit further. You almost made it. And even greenhouses. We've done them, but just need to narrow it down a little bit and stay focused on
what you do.
Doing a few good things. And
Managing your rent-to-own contracts just got easier with RTO Smart. Designed by leaders in the rent-to-own storage industry, RTO Smart was handcrafted to enable you with the tools needed to manage your own contracts your way without using a third-party rent-to-own company. RTO Smart is your one-stop shop, allowing you to generate contracts and manage customer accounts from start to finish while maintaining simplicity and flexibility. Call us today at 316-618-9396 or visit our website at rtosmart.com to schedule a live demo and discover why RTO Smart may be right for your business. So you've actually been running the place since what, 2000?
No, I mean I started running it in 2004.
Okay.
When I got out of college, by the time I finished school, my dad went from semi-retired to retired, and it wasn't really that it was this big conversation or anything that, hey, I'm going to do it this way. It just worked out that way. And we stuck with looking at what I had got my degree in and how the economy was and what was my opportunities were pretty slim at the time. And I thought, things are going pretty good. Let's just see if we can build on what Dad's already done. And so he was gracious enough to let us take over. And he was ready to retire too, and so we did. And then we stayed in a previous location where the Oakley fence was, and did well. And as we got busier and busier and grew more, we realized we need our own spot. And just there happened to be a place across the road from where we were that was available. And so we bought a 2-acre lot and built on that, which was challenging trying to do in the city limits and get them to,
allow for manufacturing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Manufacturing and all the rules and everything with that. I really wanted to just, put up a barn and have a shed office and, keep the costs down and just build. But they were having none of it. And I felt like I needed to be in the city limits for some reason back then anyway, just because I felt like it would be a way of saying to Stillwater, hey, I'm,
invested in you.
I'm invested in the city. And they would reciprocate.
Yeah.
And they have. And so it definitely paid off.
No, it makes a lot of sense. I've never really thought of it like that. Most shed companies you do find are in rural areas. If they're a manufacturer, even a lot of the retail lots are always on the fringe of town. It's always just a little bit on the outside of town, but we've dealt with our own, even as a retail lot, we've dealt with our own share. I don't have a retail lot anymore, but I did. We had 3 at one point, maybe. And they were, the municipalities are so different depending on where you are. We were in Illinois, Kentucky, and Tennessee, and it's kind of interesting, the different rules surrounded what you can do, what you can't do. And we seem to have the most trouble in our own hometown there of Metropolis. So,
really?
Yeah, it was really difficult to get past some of the zoning and stuff that they wanted. And, but that's my own personal beef. I never felt like our own city's business friendly. So
the beef that I had here was just mainly how they dealt with drainage. They want a giant retention pond for everything. And, I don't want my sheds to get flooded by having a pond. I want a big dry lot here that I can put stuff on.
Yeah. So, it makes good sense.
Yeah.
But so in 2004, were you guys, were you trailering yet? Were you still using the old school methods, or?
We were still building on site.
Okay.
And, but I'd started seeing that happening, and it just got the wheels turning. And I didn't even know there was people, building trailers for that and things like that, and putting a lot of internet stuff, or even they wouldn't even been on the internet anyway if there was there. And so I decided I'm going to figure out how to do my own trailer, and I found a trailer, picked up somewhere, I used one and rigged up a winch on it, and was having all kinds of trouble with it. And when I hauled it, I don't know, I'm surprised I didn't kill myself or someone else trying to, get a shed on a trailer or haul it, going through axles and stuff like that. And let's see. And then I actually had one built, and which I still have, which was just basically a deck over tilt bed trailer, and did some modifications, had to put a rolling tailgate on the back and just a roller. So it wasn't like a beaver tail type thing or anything. It just rolled up this roller, and then the winch pulled it onto the wooden deck. So but it worked pretty good. Didn't have any other bells and whistles to it. and then I don't remember how I first heard about the shed show, but they was having one in Lancaster, and it must have been about 2010 or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we decided to load up and go out there and see what we could learn.
Hello, shed sellers. Let's take a moment to discuss the shed customer and meeting their expectations. I remember growing up in the neighborhood where a certain percentage of the houses had well-manicured lawns and well-manicured homes. These were the type of individuals who felt it was important to purchase a well-constructed home or vehicle, or maybe equipment to help maintain the quality of the item. As shed manufacturers, we seek to provide a well-built quality shed.
We want the customer to feel satisfied that their hard-earned money has been well spent on a product that will last. At LuxGuard, we believe adding high-quality rubber flooring to your line of sheds makes sense to the customer and adds value the customer can appreciate. With each year, sheds are becoming more complex. The customizations we are seeing are virtually endless. LuxGuard not only gives a complimentary aesthetic appearance for their shed, but also protects the floor from spills and keeps cleanup simple. Offer your customer the customer service they seek with LuxGuard. At LuxGuard, we are committed to delivering exceptional customer service and innovative products to help our customers achieve their goals. We strive to meet the evolving needs of the customers. To speak with one of our ready-to-serve customer product specialists, simply call 336-468-4311. To see our product and view an installation video, just visit our website at luxguard.com. LuxGuard, the floor that lasts a lifetime.
It's all the piano. My wife is the piano player for our church.
Okay.
She plays the congregational, and which she's been a member there for 50 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And her dad, it's not the pastor, but when he became the pastor and they moved to Stillwater, she was 4 years old.
Okay.
So she's been here her whole life too, and so she grew up in that church and everything. But she's taught piano lessons. She doesn't now. She stepped back from that. She did it for over 30 years, teaching piano lessons. And I really needed her help in the business.
Yeah.
Because we were just so busy. I couldn't do all the books and everything.
Yeah.
And so I said, it's just going to have to be an economic decision, because that was kind of a ministry for her, teaching piano to kids and things. But I needed her help, and so she's been a huge help. And I mean, takes a lot off my shoulders.
Yeah,
with the books and really, she's a way better sales lady than
way better at sales.
She sells sheds and carports all the time.
People make arguments all the time that a lady is a better salesperson.
Yeah, well, these old men love to come in here and talk to her anyway. Yeah, and so
and it's a mixture of are they maybe just more at ease because it's not another guy, maybe who understands the dynamics of the shed and the building components and things like that. So they're just easier to talk to, maybe their guards down kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people that don't know all the lingo.
Yeah.
And so if it's a man and he's talking to another man, they're probably intimidated or embarrassed that they don't know it.
Yeah.
But like you said, talking to a lady, it's.
Yeah, they feel like they're superior in their knowledge of it. Maybe only to find that the ladies know way more than the guys that come in.
She's had a few men come in that don't even want to talk to her because she's a woman.
Right. She would not possibly know anything about shed building or what I need or whatever, and only to their surprise, huh?
And no, I mean, she don't even get past hardly hello with them because they're like, no.
Yeah.
Where's Brad? I ain't talking to you. And so, anyway.
Yeah, it's funny how the world works, isn't it? But hey, I've found that lady salespeople and even lady manufacturers, they do great.
I have 4 daughters, so no sons. So, yeah.
Bless your heart, Brad.
I know. Wish my grandsons would hurry up and get old enough to build sheds. But no. But so they're all very accomplished in their own right and have now I tease them all the time about being females and, all the jokes, but no, I don't have any prejudice in that way I think women can do quite a bit. So.
Now, have any of them expressed interest in taking over on the shed side?
Not really. No, they're no. I have 2 married, 2 that aren't, but no, they are not.
They've got their own careers, their own goals. And
yes, one is our oldest. Her husband's a pastor in Collinsville, which is north of Tulsa, and so they're very active and busy up there in their ministry. And then our second oldest one She lives with us. She has some disabilities but she is a painter and an author.
Okay.
Published a book and
Nice.
and then our third, number 3 daughter, she lives in Dallas. She works for MasterCard, and she has a established career in that, and it's a lot to do with all the security and the fraud and things like that, fraud prevention. And then our youngest daughter, she also lives in Collinsville, and her husband, she's married, and her husband's a teacher there.
Okay.
So
got their own lives, and
yeah.
and then you've got some grandbabies.
Yes, I have four grandchildren. Our oldest daughter had 3 sons, and then our youngest daughter that's married has a little girl.
Okay.
Which is okay, but I really wanted a grandson.
Like real salt of the earth people, business. I mean, Americana kind of story here. You know what I mean? Married, grew up in small hometown. Dad was an entrepreneur. You became an entrepreneur, raised a family, and still have the business after all these years, even in spite of ebbs and flows and, ups and downs and everything else over 30 years.
Yes. Well, since 90. So
34 years just in sheds. Yeah.
Just in sheds. And then my dad bought Oakley Fence in 1970.
Okay. So entrepreneur for
54 years.
54 years. Yeah. And that's what's raised the family. So very, very cool American story.
Hello from the Shed Geek. Let's take a walk through My Shed 3D. With My Shed 3D, your company can simply add a 3D builder button to its website. Once the customer clicks onto the 3D builder button, they will enter some basic information to get started. Remember, this information is captured in your Leads tab, whether or not the customer designs a building. This is very valuable information that turns a cold call into a warm lead. Next, they begin the design of their shed by selecting a primary use, a style, and a size that best fits their need. My Shed 3D has multiple styles that are available and consistent with traditional and barn styles within the shed industry. However, if you offer a customized or non-traditional style, My Shed Solutions can build that design for future use. We can also save on some design features that make it easy to adjust without a major rebuild or added fees for design changes. For instance, want to offer a steeper roof pitch? Just navigate to the Settings tab. Then click the Building Models. Click Edit Building and just enter the new roof center height, and the design changes will reflect on this style option. This will save you thousands versus traditional design changes that need to build a whole new style to match your design. From here, simply choose the style, siding, and color. Then choose a trim and roofing style and color. Next, let's add a door. That was goofy. Next, let's add a door. It is required to add a door to move forward with the design, as at least one ingress-egress option is necessary. Then add some design changes for personalization. Maybe some windows, or a porch, or some interior shelving. Next, just click Save Design and the customer will receive an automated text with all the features of the design to the email address entered at the beginning. From here, they can edit the design, view the details of the design, pay now to order the shed, or click Rent to Own to complete the necessary steps to purchase a shed they designed with My Shed 3D. The design enters the admin panel as a quote, and this is where the manufacturer can update the progress of the design once a deposit is taken. My Shed, from design to delivery, we have you covered.
I'm going to switch gears on you here, Brad. I'm just curious, all these years in the industry, where do you think it's going now? What do you think the next 5 years, 10 years, what's your magic ball tell you as you look into the future and say, hey, what's the next year, 5 or 10 going to look like? Or is there things that we should be looking out for, surprises? If you base the future off the past, what would you think's coming around the corner for us in the shed industry?
Wow, that's a tough question.
Hard to see the future.
Yeah, let me get my crystal ball out. No, I mean, it's probably just going to keep incrementally, evolving like it has. But there's some big players out there that I wonder if they're growing too fast, and if they can sustain, everything that they need to do. And it's usually with any industry, there's the big fish eat the little fish. But I think because AI can't build a shed,
Yeah.
and there is just a big need, and I think there's a big void. I think a lot of people have trouble finding skilled laborers, workers, that anybody that can kind of maybe do a little bit of everything, build your own shed, maybe deliver it, maybe sell it. I think there's always going to be a place for that. Small guy.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Even if there gets to be big places with outlets or whatever, know, and I mean, there may be someday a big, just like a Lowe's, but it's just only sheds,
Yeah.
I mean, there may be something like that out there someday where you can just go to a shed store and it looks like a big giant
In the
lumberyard.
in the big populated areas, it seems like there's more possibility. But I agree with you. I don't think it's ever really going to go away. The mom and pop shed builder. I think you can still put out a good product, and you can still reach an audience. I think it really just depends on your ambition, because we see shed companies that have been in business for 40, 50 years, that one location and perfectly happy, good name. Not interested in growing it out past that. And then you see others with an appetite for more, where they're, grow, almost franchise it into multiple different, manufacturers and shed lots. So I think it really just depends on your appetite. But I think that you can still put together a shed in a building and, a pole barn or something, build 3 or 4 of them, stick them out front and still do fine.
Right. I agree. And it just depends on how you want to scale out your, your business. And for me, maybe it's just my contentment or my season of life that I'm in or whatever, it doesn't appeal to me to, expand a lot. And because when the bottom line, I probably still wouldn't have that much more after it's over with, except gray hair and stress.
Yeah.
So
I don't think we talk about that word enough, contentment. Like even in we might hear it in church, but in society, it doesn't seem like contentment's like a word that people appreciate as much anymore, as much as more.
right.
More, always gain more. I think about like, who was it? I can't think of his name. Rockefeller is the story where they said, you've got everything that you could want: money, power, influence, all these things. What else do you want? And he said, just a little more.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just no heart of contentment. And but I mean, you're a family guy, been here for all your life. Watched became a second generation entrepreneur in the town you live in. Watched your 4 kids grow up, get married, and have grandbabies. There's a lot to be content about there.
Yeah, we're blessed. Yes, no doubt, and no complaints. And we're thankful, and we're blessed for that. And if that continues on, we'll be even more grateful.
Yeah.
So I don't have to be on the cover of whatever or the top this and that. I don't have any problem with people that want to do that and be. And I had, obviously I had a lot more maybe I don't know if drive is the word or just ambition. I still have it, but I focused it in other areas probably. But when we bought this land, and we built this building, and we did all that, that took a lot of drive and ambition and, wanting to get, so there's goals there and things, but once you reach your goals, we kind of focused our goals on a few other things, and
So what and who is Brad outside of the shed world? Outside of being a family guy, what do you have any unique adventures that are a part of your life? You're a rock climber, a pilot. I find some folks that do some of the wildest stuff sometimes in the shed industry outside of their normal daily job.
Yeah, I don't have a crazy sport hobby or anything like that.
I don't either.
Yeah,
right.
I
don't either.
I mean, I used to play a little racquetball, but
okay,
try to keep in shape here and there. But I guess my crazy thing is just doing shed moves on the side, because I get into some wild,
really?
Weird.
Like the private moves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Just people so I move sheds a lot on the side after hours or whenever and work them in, but they're always an adventure.
What's one of your best stories? What's one of your most memorable events from doing a private move?
We did a crazy one just recently. I got in a pinch where we were moving this really old shed, which was still sound condition, but the yard, I had to get up this hill and through, which I didn't realize used to be a garden, and it was real soft. And my mule sunk, and this building is sitting on a steep hill, and I'm sunk in the ground, and trying to tug it and pull it and get it on up, and it wasn't working. And then the drive belt that runs the mule, runs everything hydraulic, broke. And it's Friday afternoon. On a hot Friday afternoon.
It is hot here. There's no doubt about that.
And I'm trying to get a hold of anybody to figure out what size belt I need. And I talked to Cardinal, and they're like, there should be a spare inside the frame hanging on a zip tie or something. And nope, not there. What year is it? Oh, yeah, we didn't start hanging them until just the next month or something. And so I started calling, and I couldn't get one anywhere. And somebody said, I think the guy down there's got the same model. I just rebuilt his mule. So I gave him a call, and sure enough, and he was out doing a move, but he was going to be coming through town about 5 or 6 that evening. And so I met up with him. He gave me his spare, and I finally got that thing on the mule. And I mean, his customers, their yards, their fences tore out, the shed's hanging halfway out in the street, out in the alley, and broke. Here I am, broke down. Got it all back together, got the shed in place, and it was about 9:30 when I got out of there. But and I started that morning.
Oh,
that was a crazy long day, But I told myself I probably shouldn't have done. I knew in my gut, I probably shouldn't do this. Just some weird things about it that weren't some red flags. And I thought, the challenge, you like the challenge,
yeah.
This.
So are you sort of vertically integrated in that way that you guys build here, you sell here, but you also deliver from out of here, all done in-house?
Right. Yes.
That's pretty nice. I mean, not having to rely on anybody, but what's also cool is your testimony about the shed hauler. And that's one thing I like about a lot of the shed haulers, that they can say that, they work together, even if they work, that was detrimental to you. And it wasn't like, hey, I can really stick it to that guy by saying, no, deal with your problem. Instead, he took the opposite approach to say, hey,
very gracious to willingly let me have that. And I, of course I had one ordered for him heading his way before I even saw him, and to pick his up. But I just couldn't wait over the whole weekend and have everything hanging out there. I mean, it would have been the end of the world, but it sure was nice to get her done.
Yeah.
And so that was, and I'm, there's that big Shed Haulers Facebook page.
Oh yeah.
And I've been on that for several years, and I don't really contribute. I just kind of check it out every now and then. But that was the most recent. But yeah, there's all kinds of fun adventures with delivering the sheds. And actually, if I could just move sheds on the side, or like I do on the side, but just do that all the time, I would probably just sell everything and just do that.
Is that
It's
right?
way funner. And,
Yeah.
and less complicated.
Well, careful, because there's people listening, and you might get a phone call. So.
I want to stay in Stillwater.
Yeah, just saying, you might get a phone call. You never know.
Introducing Shed Hub, your ultimate shed marketplace. Are you in the shed business and looking to connect with more buyers? Look no farther than Shed Hub. Shed Hub is a game-changing, two-sided marketplace that brings shed sellers and buyers together in one easy-to-use platform. Think of it as the Amazon of sheds. Shed Hub isn't just any ordinary marketplace. It's a powerhouse that ranks on the first page of Google's search results in 91% of U.S. cities. With over 1.2 million impressions on our website last month alone, Shed Hub is where you want to be to showcase your sheds to a wider audience. And here's the best part. For a limited time, you can join our exclusive Next 500 plan for just $39 per month. Simply head over to geek.shedhub.com to sign up and start attracting more shoppers to your shed listings. As the Shed Geek, I am here to endorse Shed Hub and invite you to join me on this journey to boost your shed business. Whether you're struggling with website visibility or simply want more eyes on your product, Shed Hub has got you covered. Don't miss out on this opportunity to supercharge your shed sales. Visit geek.shedhub.com today and make your mark in the shed industry with Shed Hub.
I love your story. I love the history of your business and the way that your dad started and you found your way into this. It's very, like I said before, it's very American is what comes to mind for me, to raise a family in the shed industry. And it shows that you can do that, and be content and be happy. And you guys have done well here. Any particular shout outs that you want to give to any body or any companies, just throughout the years, it's sort of been imperative in helping you grow, or equipment, anything that's worked out really good and you're glad that you've worked with them?
Well, like I said, our mule has been, I don't even like to think about how we used to do it. We have a WKM trailer, and that's been, I bought that trailer in 2015, and it's still, because I only basically just use it for us, and it's not on the road 24/7. We've had a lot of life out of it, and minimal. I don't want to jinx myself, but minimal, repairs and things, and it's been a great trailer. And same with the mule.
Now, have you been to some expos since Lancaster? Have you been going to any of the shows?
We were planning on going, and then to the one that got canceled during COVID.
Oh, yeah, during COVID. Yeah.
And we just haven't been able to arrange it since then, but we want to, yeah.
Yeah, we'd love to see you at one of them. We'll be in Michigan, this year at the expo, but then we'll also be in Greenville in January. And I found myself going to some of these like post frame shows and things like that too. We went down to Branson recently, where I've found a lot of guys that are building sheds are in the post frame world too. So try to connect the dots.
Yeah.
Not everybody does, but a lot of times when you find that one industry overlaps into the other, it's kind of cool to be in that industry and having conversations with those folks too. So,
well, I would recommend it to anybody if they haven't ever gone, because it's educational for sure. And especially if you're starting out and you're just running across this podcast or whatever, and you're thinking, I might want to get into building sheds, I would do that, because you will, instead of making all the mistakes that everybody else made, you'll be that much further ahead and learning. I'm glad we went, and I felt like I got so much information at one time. It didn't have to be an annual thing.
Yeah.
But
so what would you say from going and setting up your camera in Wichita, or going to a shed show in Lancaster, or visiting other dealers along your way in vacation, what's one thing that you remember that you took away that surprised you the most? I like to think of, there's this book called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, and he talks about the Black Swan, and it's the name of his group. He's got a podcast and everything, but he was a FBI hostage negotiator. And that's why I never split the difference, because he always says you can't split the difference, you got to win. And you know, he was negotiating for life as opposed to negotiating for like a salary. So I kind of understand where his mentality was. But he has this group called the Black Swan Group, and the reason he named it the Black Swan Group is because he says in a pond full of white swans, what sticks out the most? The black swan. If there's a black swan there, it sticks out more than anything. And that's the most obvious thing to everyone who walks up. It's not the 100 white swans. It's the one black swan that sticks out like a sore thumb. And he named his group after that. So I always like to ask people, what was like your black swan moment? What was like the moment where you were like, wow, we've either been into this for 2 weeks or 2 months or 20 years, and then all of a sudden we realized something that we were doing that everyone else saw that we just didn't see? Like, is there one thing in particular that sticks out, whether it's a type of build, using metal instead of wood, vice versa? I don't know. What is there any moments that change sort of your direction?
Before I started building sheds, when I was working in the printing plant, it was a big manufacturing mindset there. Okay. I mean, that's what a lot of it was. So I already had that manufacturing and some of the titles I had and things that we were involved in training and involved in. So I tried to come into it as I was going to turn this into a manufacturing plant.
Gotcha.
You know, but I wound up just doing a lot more custom stuff for people.
Okay.
And I couldn't do everything, same thing over and over and over in that regard, because it was everything just so customized, it seemed like. And I don't know, it just, to me, it's just focusing on one customer at a time. And in doing that, we had less problems when everything was over with, because they were satisfied and we did a good job. We focused on what we were doing and we got it right. Mm-hmm. And we could go to bed at night and lay our head on the pillow and feel like we did it right. Mm-hmm. And not worry, is that going to come back on us later or something? Mm-hmm. And I just think, like, I saw that maybe going to Lancaster. That's really quality products up there. They do really good, working with people that were training me how to build, took that time and that care to do things, make that straight cut or make that tight joint and all those kind of things. And not just slap things together. And I just think that shows down the road. So we get a lot of comments when people come by and they'll been looking and seeing, and then they go, wow, your all's buildings really look good. And so we just try to take a lot of pride in that. And we may take a little longer to build it, or it may, our lead times may be out, turnarounds may be a little bit longer, but we just say, well, we're trying to do it right.
Yeah. So, yeah. You can't go wrong with that mentality. Brad,
hope that answered your question.
Oh, it does. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. No, for me, the podcast is all about content. So it's all about being able to talk to you about, things that you've done, things that you've seen, try to bring a picture to that as best as possible through conversation. I think that people enjoy shed history and stories and finding out how somebody got started, when, where, and why. And there's so many just connections. We're a big industry, but we're really small in terms of like different people knowing different people throughout the industry. And if we're not careful, it can become an industry or a business of greediness, bitterness, all these things. But as opposed to trying to drive that direction, I always try to drive the direction of history, positivity, and as best I can, being imperfect myself,
Right.
Yeah. So I love to get your stories and your thoughts on, like, if you can ever tap into that in the podcast. And it's really not as bad as what people think. We're just sitting here having a conversation. So I've had a lot of people tell me at the end, like, wow, I really worked that up in my mind to be something different. And only to find that, or just having a conversation that hopefully tries to help benefit them, benefit other shed companies, shed manufacturers, shed haulers through conversation. I think iron sharpens iron, and I think that it's good for us to talk. We just decided to grab the idea of sticking a microphone in front of people and recording it. There's tons of great conversations that happen all across America between friends, businesses, acquaintances, at shed trade shows, at shed hauler events, all of this stuff, and that never get captured on a microphone. We're just trying to do our little part to bring people together. So in that regard, do you have any questions for me? Podcast related, shed related, anything you can think of. It doesn't really matter. Nothing's off the table, and I'll do my best to ask in my transparent nature.
I guess, I was asking you earlier where you're from and everything, but you said you had some lots, but
yes,
at one time, but how did you actually yourself get in? You probably said this a few times and I didn't catch it, but
I got in from a friend, who was this is the way I would explain it. Me and him were kind of rough around the edges when we were young, and he became a pastor after going in the Navy. And I was just sort of looking for a job at one point. I'd worked in an industry for 10 years, and needed a change, and felt like God was calling me to be more, I don't even know how to explain it, just more what I've heard of your story on this podcast here today, Brad, like family guy that's just kind of, has a vision out in front of him for a business. I was just taking whatever job came, and I had no like drive, or I had no purpose. And I sort of found that purpose through finding God. Right. So, and that kind of set me on this other direction of just, landed in the industry, working in purchasing for a larger manufacturer, and left that to do some faith-based drug and alcohol rehabilitation work for a bit, and then got back into selling sheds, and through a mutual friend at church, where me and him would end up owning 3 lots. We bought a truck and trailer. We thought that's the direction we were going, and come to find out, I built homes for a small time when I was younger, so I was pretty familiar with the construction world. Grew up doing some carpentry work, not super skilled, but I did okay. My dad was a mechanic. I was not a mechanic. Learned that real quick. And yeah, just sort of, so it just fit whenever I got that job. And then when I fell into sales, I had been in the customer service industry for 10 years, but I had not been in sales. You're always selling, but man, I just took this whole new, aggressive approach at learning my competitors, learning more about the product, the business. And ultimately, that's what I like to say turned me into a shed geek. That's why I do the bow tie and the suspenders and the whole thing. The glasses come naturally because the vision's faded over the years. But just genuinely, we'd be on vacation, and I'd stop and talk to shed guys. I don't know why it fascinated me like it did. I think that anything that you put your heart into, if you've got your heart and soul into it, it's just going to be interesting to you. Right. I still get people who, no offense, but I get people who don't know who the Shed Business Journal is, or Garage Shed Carport Builder, or the podcast, or whatever, or don't go to the shows, or invest, or unsubscribe from the email, that we send out, or whatever. And I'm like, hey, it never takes offense to me. I just can't imagine being in an industry and not wanting to know more, learn more, do all about it. If I was in shoes, I'd be following every shoe things. If I sold Harley Davidson motorcycles, I'd want to know everything about them. And I find that it seems like some people see it as a job and some people see it as a calling. And I think you can tell the difference, and I think it probably shows in their business too. It probably shows up in their culture, the employees, everything. So that's a long answer to the question you asked me, but I guess I just think I wanted to be super involved with this industry. I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
It found, it found me because ministry and work don't really separate. I just kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, growing up building fences, when we would go on vacation, I mean, I remember my dad, hey, look at that fence. Oh, look at that fence. It was just everywhere. And before long, we were pointing them out, seeing them before he would. Hey, Dad, look at that one. You know, and in the same way with the sheds. And I know my kids notice every shed when they're, they just, because that's what we did on vacation. And they were like, I'd see them roll their eyes sometimes because I would pull into some lot, and go, oh, wow, look at this. Look what they did. And you just want to maybe glean from something new or something new idea. Because there's nothing new under the sun. So, I mean, I've had people accuse me of copying, or you copied off of this. And I'm like, so you invented the shed. Okay.
Yeah, nothing's really, like you said, new under the sun. You can go from one lot to the next to tell that most of what we all do is within 90% the same.
It is. There's some techniques or designs or patterns or whatever you want to call it that people like that you might make unique to your structure, but nobody has a copyright or a patent on it. It's not.
Yeah.
And so it's just your limit is your creativity and your ability and what the customer wants, because why would you build something that nobody would buy anyway, right? Yeah. I mean, you could try it and put it out there, but you can't force it down anybody's throat. So,
that's right.
It's usually what dictates is what
the customer wants.
What the customer wants, what the trend is going on in the industry.
Well, man, it's been a pleasure just getting to meet you and talk about the shed business here with you, and like-minded folks to folks who also listen, who are like-minded, who are in this industry, that even though you're kind of in your echo chamber, building and selling and hauling every day, day in and day out, you might not get a chance to get out and see the rest of these people. It's what we've tried to bring to the table, is going around to these different places. I couldn't tell you how many manufacturers now or dealer lots we visited, but it's a lot, and it's always exciting to still hear their story, how they got started, where they're going, what their view of the industry is. It's always interesting to me. I just overall appreciate you reaching out and giving me a chance. We put it out on Facebook and through the email that we were going to be out this area, and I'm glad it worked out.
Thanks for the opportunity. I mean, if people ask me what I do sometimes, and I say, well, I have a shed business, and they look at me funny, like, you build sheds, and
you can do that for a living?
Yeah. I was like, well, it pays the bills.
Yeah, that's right.
It's done a lot for us. And obviously God's blessed it, and we're thankful for that. So, but it's neat that there's that pun of cottage industry, and it's, but it really, it's a neat industry to be in and be a part of. Good folks, good, I think for the most part, very wholesome industry.
It is.
Thankful for that. Yeah.
On that note, I always like to pray. I don't know if you like to pray, but I like to pray.
Yes.
So if it's okay, I assume just from hearing our conversation that you do, and knowing that your father-in-law is a pastor, and knowing that you guys have faith as a big part of your being too. So I'll just close this out by praying over the industry, and just want to say thank you and congratulations also for all the success you've had, and thank you for sitting down with me and giving us a chance to look around a little bit. So means a lot.
Absolutely.
Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the opportunity to meet Brad and his family and the folks of his business. I ask that you just continue to bless the multi-generational entrepreneurial business that they've put into place after all these years. Just continue to bless it. Keep him encouraged. Ask that you would continue to bless our industry as a whole. Keep us safe as we move to and from the shed haulers. Also the manufacturing day in and day out. It's a task and can be dangerous at times. So please keep us safe as we move to and from events like the Shed Expo. Just keep us safe in our travels. Help keep our hearts soft, our eyes open to see, our ears open to hear what it is that you would have us do, not only individually, but also as an industry. If we could come together to do better things for your kingdom, that's what it's all about. And we thank you, sincerely thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Hey, this is Mo Lunsford in sunny Union Grove, North Carolina, and we want to say thank you to all the guests and listeners.